From Thom Hartmann's Daily Take Substack. Is ICE today's Klan? From concealed identities to sanctioned violence, the echoes between ICE raids and Klan terror are too loud to ignore. Published October 7, 2025. The following is a song inspired by this article.
They come before dawn, in the cold of the grave. Black masks in the mist, and the children pray. They knock on the doors where the weary hearts hide. Carries whispers of those who have cried. They say it's the law, but whose law is it now? The same law that once wore a hood and a vow. Today's Klan, beneath a new command. They hide behind badges, they hide behind plans. If justice is blind, then who leads her hand? Is ICE today's Klan? In this broken land, the boots on the porch, the screams in the air, the papers they wave don't mean justice is fair. They say it's protection, they say it's the law. Mercy's the first thing they ever withdraw. We've seen this before in a different disguise. Same fear reflected in innocent eyes. Is ICE today's Klan, dressed in olive and tan, marching under orders no conscience could stand. They claim it's the law, but it's blood on their hands. Is ICE today's Klan? Is ICE today's Klan? We tore down the crosses, we burned down the hoods. We swore never again, and we meant that we should. But power remembers what hate understands. You can't see the face when it hides in your plans. They said if you've nothing to hide, you've nothing to fear. But the masked men are coming, and they're already here. Is ICE today's Klan, with the same cold demand? When the law wears a mask, who will take a stand? If silence is safety, then where's our command? Is ICE today's Klan? Is ICE today's Klan? The mask never left, it just learned how to play.
Masked armed law enforcement agents who regularly violate the law and strip people of their constitutional rights is nothing new in America. They have, in fact, a long and well-documented history, including states, after years of abuse by masked men, passing laws specifically to prevent them from concealing their identities when performing law enforcement operations. In this era, we call them Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, agents. During the late 19th and early to mid-20th century, they called themselves the Ku Klux Klan. They often operated with the blessing of both federal and state governments, often deputized and given badges and guns, and, quote, enforced the law, end quote, while wearing their famous white hoods to conceal their individual identities. ICE operates today with a level of autonomy, impunity, and intimidation that closely parallels the Ku Klux Klan's tactics as masked semi-official enforcers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Both used legal and quasi-legal authority, masked identities, and violent or coercive tactics to carry out their missions, all without individual accountability, while targeting vulnerable minorities and subverting legal norms to do so. Because their violence and brutality so often broke the law, the Klan's hoods prevented victims from identifying them. This allowed them to operate with near complete impunity, knowing that individually they had never be held to account. To this day, we generally only know the names of their public leaders or of those who'd taken over regular law enforcement bureaus, like the 5 Klan members who murdered 3 voting registration civil rights workers in Mississippi back in 1964. Operating under the authority of the Neshoba County Sheriff's Office, Edgar Ray Killen, a local Ku Klux Klan organizer, planned and orchestrated the murders. Cecil Ray Price, the Neshoba County Deputy Sheriff and Klansman, arrested the 3 men on a fabricated speeding charge. Alton Wayne Roberts was the Klansman who shot and killed Schwerner and Goodman. Samuel Bowers, the Imperial Wizard of Mississippi's Klan, ordered the killings. James Jordan was the Klansman who confessed to shooting Chaney. Today, to avoid the accountability that Killen, Price, Roberts, Bowers, and Jordan faced, the ICE agents routinely conducted operations while masked, concealing faces and badge numbers. This is framed as a, quote, safety, end quote, measure, but it's pretty clear that the real motive is to shield agents from accountability, mirroring practices by the Klan, who wore hoods to intimidate, avoid arrest, and facilitate mob violence without risk of personal consequence. The Klan's power was rooted in violence without accountability, and the mask was its shield. When historians wrote about the so-called, quote, Second Klan, end quote, of the 1920s, they point out its members' obsession with law and order and masked morality enforcement. Some jurisdictions openly deputized them to, quote, assist, end quote, in enforcing segregation laws and even liquor laws, principally raiding black-owned speakeasies during Prohibition. In Indiana and Oregon, the Klan effectively ran the entire state's politics. Eventually, states had enough and outlawed Klan members from wearing their hoods or kerchiefs, even when executing the law. New York, a, quote, free state, end quote, was an early adopter. In 1845, the state made it a crime for a law enforcement officer or anybody else to appear, quote, disguised and armed, end quote. An Indiana version of that law was overturned by an Indiana federal district judge who found that forcing Klan members to remove their hoods could subject them to harassment and impinge on their, quote, right to anonymity when past harassment makes it likely that disclosing the members' identities would impact the group's ability to pursue its collective efforts at advocacy, end quote. It's Thom Hartmann's and Christian Noem's argument today. In addition to New York and Indiana, 17 states passed laws against armed men wearing masks to conceal their identities, including Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, Oklahoma, Texas, Connecticut, Ohio, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee, law later struck down, Arkansas, local ordinances, and Maryland, various forms. California has an 1872 ordinance that outlaws, quote, mask, false whiskers, or any personal disguise, whether complete or partial, end quote, when, quote, evading or escaping discovery, recognition, or identification in the commission of any public offense, end quote. Connecticut law, 1949, makes it illegal to wear a mask, quote, with the intent to deprive another of, quote, any rights, privileges, or immunities, end quote, on account of race, something it appears that ICE officers are doing daily, particularly since Brett Kavanaugh said that one can racially profile in so-called, quote, Kavanaugh raids, end quote. Delaware outlaws, in 1953, wearing masks, quote, while congregating in public and depriving another of rights, end quote. D.C. outlaws wearing masks, quote, to avoid identification, end quote, while committing a dangerous and violent crime, theft, or, quote, threats to do bodily harm, end quote. Florida outlaws, 1951, wearing a mask, quote, while intimidating others, end quote. Ditto for Georgia, Massachusetts, quote, while obstructing police. Michigan, quote, in commission of a crime, end quote. New Mexico, quote, while obstructing police, end quote. North Dakota, quote, while in commission of a crime. Ohio, quote, while in commission of a misdemeanor with others so masked, end quote. And Oklahoma, quote, while in commission of a crime or to harass, end quote. Most of these laws could be used to prosecute ICE officers when they wear masks while committing assault, kidnapping, and vandalism, should any state or city governments choose to make the arrests. The most recent and most specific laws passed this year by California's legislature, called the No Secret Police Act, SB 672, its main author, State Senator Scott Wiener, notes, quote, as this authoritarian regime seeks to demolish our constitutional rights and engages in straight-up terror campaign, California is meeting the Trump administration's secret police tactics with strength and defiance. ICE's secret police tactics under Trump and Stephen Miller are raining fear and aggression down on California and requiring us to adapt in real time. No one wants masked officers roaming their communities and kidnapping people with impunity. As this authoritarian regime expands its reach into every aspect of daily life, including terrorizing people where they work, where they live, where they go to school, where they shop, where they seek health care, California will continue to stand for the rule of law and for basic freedoms, end quote. So far, Governor Gavin Newsom has chosen not to enforce the law that he pushed through his own legislature, although ICE seems to be focusing their, quote, Kavanaugh raid, end quote, abuses of black and Hispanic people on Chicago, where they've already shot 2 people, killing 1, and Portland right now. The question isn't whether ICE agents today share the Klan ideology. Some may not, although recruiting pitches seem directed toward those sympathetic. The question is, instead, whether our government has once again created a Klan-like system in which anonymous and armed men can break into homes, detain people, and abuse families without being individually answerable to the law. That is what the hood and mask have always symbolized in America. They mean right-wing thugs can do whatever they want and walk away untouched, no matter how heinous their crimes. We're told that if we have nothing to hide, we have nothing to fear. But when armed officers of the government hide their identities from the public they claim to serve, they're telling us exactly what to fear. History has already written the first draft of this story once before. We'd be fools to let it play out again.